This session is also going to be very, very different from any of the other sessions you've been to today, in that we're really taking a much, much broader step back at health in general and all the contributors to health and disease. At least that's where we're starting. And then we're going to focus on neurological disorders where there are environmental contributors, and I'll go into all of this in detail. But so this is it's not getting in on the, into the classrooms. It's not getting into the, clinical approach, social workers. It really is something we all need to be concerned about, and particularly, I think, this community. So here's how I decided to do my outline, using airplane metaphor. So 35,000-foot view, and this is this ecological health framework, which I'll talk a little bit about. It's really a systems model for understanding health, and you probably can't see that diagram very well. It doesn't matter, we'll get to a better one. But it's really seeing the human nested in many other circles that influence us as we grow. And then we're going to get in, what is the prevalence of chronic diseases, not just neurological disorders, but there's been increases in many across the board. And there's also all these interacting and contributing factors, which again, I'll get to. So then kind of narrowing a little bit, I talk about the genome plus exposome equals your health. And this is a phrase that I try to use with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation unsuccessfully, but I really think it does capture what we're trying to work with. And you can also talk about in social determinants of health, environmental determinants of health as well. And then I'll then get into the first 1,000 days of life, and not just talking about birth on, but actually conception forward. Then going into really looking at what Philippe Grandjean, who just wrote this book I'll be talking a bit about as well, about these brain drain chemicals. That's the phrase he uses. And then we'll look at some of the economic costs to society, to individuals, and go into more of what we can do and how can we learn better about this and create a more protective society from these exposures. So let's get started. So here's the ecological health framework. And as Melissa was talking about the cellular to the societal, well, actually this is really even the subcellular to the ecosystem and beyond. So this isn't hierarchical. None of these are more important than the other, but it really talks about how the systems are nested, and all of them are important. They all interact, on multiple levels all the time. And so we go from the cell level, organ system, then the actual individual, up to relationships, family, community, society, and then the ecosystem. But again, these are moving in all different possible directions. A flow chart would just be a squiggle of lines here. So, but this gives a more simplistic view of how we can think about it. And a particular example, I just was reading this article in the Lancet medical journal, and it was it actually was a report from the Lancet and the Rockefeller Foundation, and talking about the bee colony collapse, which I'm sure you all have read about and heard about, and it's very much a concern. And there's many theories as to why it's happening. But pesticide use has been one of the given a great deal of weight in that conversation. And what this particular report found was that with the honeybees, dying off as they are, this could mean another 71 million people becoming vitamin A deficient, which can lead to blindness. Global supplies of fruit, vegetables, and nuts would decrease by 22% of the fruits, 16% of the vegetables, 22% of the nuts. And so this, we think it's kind of out there and not something we really need to worry about. And it's not just the nice, beautiful flowers we have in our yard, but it really is deeply and inextricably connected to our health. So this is my beautiful son. Whoops, that he now just went back. he's 10 now. He's a little younger here. But here I want to talk about these interacting factors that influence health and development. And as I talked a bit about the genome, that's, we're really talking about heredity there, right? But that, we used to think, we'll just look at the genes and we've mapped the genome, which is fantastic. But if you don't look at the exposome, meaning everything else and how it interacts with the genes, you're missing this whole other world. And I know you all know this other world with the gene-environment interactions I just mentioned, but also nutrition, and there's infectious disease, there's socioeconomic, there's psychosocial environments, do we have access to nature, the built environment questions, and then exposures to toxic chemicals. But all of these, again, blend and merge and feed into each other to end up with what you call your health or disease, given the pollen. So now we're going to look at the prevalence of chronic diseases and disorders. As probably many of you all know, that there's been a huge increase in obesity, 300% increase over the past 40 years. Infertility has also increased more than 40%, or 40% more women in 2002 have had infertility problems than in 1982. I mean, that's huge. That's can't be explained by genetics alone, right? And then leukemia, that's his childhood leukemia and brain cancer, has increased 20% over the past 40 years. And so this really goes to show you there's something else going on here. And of course, you know this better than I, the neurodevelopmental disorders, 1,000+% increase in autism over the past 30 years, 17% increase over the past 20 years of developmental disabilities, an increase of 5% per year of ADHD starting in 2003 to 2011. So we're seeing all these increases in a very short amount of time where, again, it can't just be genetics because they don't change that fast, and then it must be all these other contributing factors. And so we're going to start to explore those. So our world has changed tremendously over the last 100 years. There's now all these synthetic chemicals, many of which weren't around until the 1940s when the petrochemical industry started around World War II. And then we industrialized the food supply with antibiotics, and then the destruction of critical habitats like the bee colonies and the stress on ecosystems. And that has, of course, changed how we live. I'd like to ask, how many of you all used to bike to school? Actually, there's a lot of younger people. Or walk or bike. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, and how many do you have children who bike or walk to school? Or grandchildren? That's good, 1 or 2. But you can just see in that alone, in a generation alone, where that used to be the norm, where we would, interact all the time, and it's no longer. And so, the built environment has obviously changed how we relate to each other, and the physical activities, decrease. And there's this growing income gap, which continues to only deepen, I guess I should say. And it also increases the risk of these diseases and disabilities. So this is the socioeconomic concerns and psychosocial concerns. So this is also, sadly, the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, talk about this is the first generation which is not expected to live as long as their parents, which is just, unthinkable. I mean, every generation has basically lived longer than their parents. But in terms of diabetes, for babies born in 2000, girls rather, have a 38% lifetime risk if diabetic before age 40, that their lifespan will be shortened by 14 years. And that's the lifespan. But then there's the quality of life, which of course is it's subjective, but it's also, that's the most important thing, right? And the quality of life gets shortened by 19 years. Boys, the lifetime risk is 33% if diabetic before the age of 40, and their lifespan on average is now shortened by 12 years if that is their case. So these are stunning statistics. I do hope, I believe in, a lot of the technological work and creativity that different people are putting in, like the Mind Institute and other places. But it's really devastating to think that this is possible and that humankind has actually been very instrumental in doing this, the unintended consequences, right? So let's look at the first 1,000 days. And I'll first talk, the most prominent way of talking about this is 0 to 3, right? You're looking at 0 to 5. James Heckman, who is an economist, he was one of the first to sort of quantify the IQ points that are lost due to early stress for a child and their, the psychosocial concerns, looking at abusive situations and so forth. And so he was really one of the big proponents behind getting some of the programs started, like 0 to 3 and early Head Start, that kind of thing, which was incredibly important. And along these lines, you all probably know or may know about the ACE studies, the Adverse Childhood Effect studies, looking at social determinants of health. And in those studies, they started looking more prenatally. So they're really starting at conception, and what happens during pregnancy is also extremely important. The abuse that can happen, even during pregnancy on up, can have lifelong health consequences, whether it's heart disease risk or diabetes, and et cetera, and other issues. So parallel to this in the research that's been coming up is looking at the prenatal exposures to toxic chemicals. And so there's just this mounting evidence, particularly over the last 25 years, that exposures to certain pollutants, at critical windows of development. The brain starts growing, at 2 weeks? Really early before the woman even knows she's pregnant, right? For the most part. And then it can have lifelong consequences. And so some people say, aging begins at conception. That's kind of hard to think about sometimes, but there is a whole area of research on fetal origin of adult disease, and we're looking at Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and others where this is true. We used to think that the placenta protected the fetus completely, It's all going to be okay because, nothing got in that wasn't supposed to get in. And of course, in more recent science, we have found that there's a lot that goes back and forth, the transplacental conversation, if you will, between the mom and the growing child. And again, these developmental windows are critical. And so I'll talk more in a minute about these chemicals at even parts per billion or parts per trillion. If the exposure happens at a critical window of development, neurodevelopment, for example, then you can see these longer-term consequences. And postnatally, kids are different, right? They're putting their hands in their mouth, they're crawling on the floor. They're exposed far more than adults are. They have a higher metabolic rate. Their increased time indoors, and indoor air pollution is a big issue, and they're on the floors, and a lot of these materials leach, or these volatile toxic chemicals, which I'll talk about more. And it's even in our breast milk, right? It's still best to breastfeed, absolutely breastfeed, everyone breastfeed, but the human tragedy or human rights issue really is that breast milk is no longer this pure food that we give our child. It's contaminated. And they did a study with Inuit women that they figure would be the control study for these exposures to pollutants, right? And they found that their PCB levels, a chemical that I'll talk a little bit more about, but it's been banned in this country since 1979, but is very persistent and bioaccumulative. They had very, very high levels of PCBs in their breast milk. So this is, it's ubiquitous. None of us, are unfortunately free of this. And it's actually why I got into this work in a certain way. I'll tell you a brief story about an amazing colleague, a woman named Sandra Steingraber, who's an ecologist. And she wrote Living Downstream because she had cancer at the age of 20. And she had done a lot of research also on exposures, and she was invited to speak at the United Nations. And she had her newborn with her on this trip, and she had just expressed breast milk before she went out to give this talk, and she decided to bring a bit of it in a jar. And so there she was, standing in front of the United Nations, mostly men, representing different countries, and said, did you know this is one of the most contaminated human foods? And she held up the breast milk. And then she proceeded to pass it around, which was a little scary, like, oh, Elise's hand in the room. But it really brought home the fact that this is a human rights issue. This is something that these chemicals, there should not be trespassing on our bodies without our permission, right? We didn't say, oh, great, let's have some DDT in my body. Oh, great, let's put these things in our bodies. So that's really the crux of it. And so we have to figure out what to do. So these are the chemicals of concern that we know a fair amount about. You've heard, I'm sure, of all of them. And sadly, as the research has continued to mount, the literature has continued to mount, we're finding that many of these chemicals are linked to everything from learning disabilities to ADHD, autism, infertility, cancers, diabetes, obesity, Parkinson's, and so forth. So these are some really bad actors. The problem is we only know a lot about 15 of these chemicals out of 80 to 85,000 that have been put on the market since the 1940s. So we are really behind the 8 ball, and I'll talk more about regulatory issues when I get to that part of the conversation. But it says we just know so little about what we're exposed to, and we know very little, even less, I guess, about what we're exposed to in combination, which is true of our everyday lives. So, the lead, the mercury, the PCBs. PCBs were used in like their electronic, sort of their heat insulators, but they're also used in all kinds of plastics and paints and other things as well. The flame retardants are pretty much probably in everything in this room in terms of the carpets, the walls, everything like that. Plasticizers, we're all unfortunately exposed to those. BPA, you've probably heard a fair amount in the news. I'll tell you more about in a bit. And then pesticides, and then air pollution from diesel fuel and other fuel combustion. So, I'm going to really take everyone into a deep depression, and then we'll hopefully pull out of it by the end of this talk, okay? So bear with me, all right? People don't invite me to dinner parties anymore. It's like, at least I really don't want to know. We just don't want to. So one really remarkable aspect of science is there's been this incredible revolution from the basic toxicological structure and understanding that is still unfortunately taught in most schools to realizing that dose does not necessarily make the poison. We've gone by these linear, so we're okay, well, you're exposed to this, it's really bad, exposed to a little bit less, it's better, exposed here, and there's considered these safe thresholds below which everything's fine. Right? Well, unfortunately, and I'll talk more about the endocrine disrupting chemicals, but there's actually the non-monotonic curve, which means that the chemical may have certain effects at this range, but then at these minute doses, very, parts per billion, parts per trillion, it may have other types of health impacts that are just as disturbing and can be lifelong. So suddenly there's this realization like, oh, we were just going with the old linear, or maybe non-linear, but basically that same criteria for understanding our risk assessment and so forth. And now, there's this whole other way of thinking about exposure levels. So again, to depress you a little bit more, these are the common sources and routes of exposure. They're pretty much in, our everything, our water, our fish, our fruits and vegetables, our furniture, our bottles, our canned food, the air, the toys, beauty products, all those things. And again, I read the science every single day, and I had to get to a certain point when I didn't just kind of burst into tears. You think, oh my gosh, I can't breathe, I can't eat. And they're really, we need to know this, but fortunately there's a lot of good work that's going on right now too. So, and one of the leaders in this field is Philippe Grandjean, whom I mentioned earlier. He's at the Harvard School of Public Health as well as the University in Denmark. And he wrote this book just 2 years ago, Only One Chance, and I have a copy of it up here. I have a few things that people afterwards, there's enough for some of you to take, but not enough for everyone to have a copy. But you can look at them when you're, if you'd like to, afterwards. So this book really summarizes very well this dilemma that we live in, and I highly recommend it. And he and Phil Landrigan, who's at the Mount Sinai School of Medicine, who has also spearheaded these issues in this country and now is also working with the WHO to get more traction on these concerns globally. So here's some of the things we've learned, from lead. I sort of talked about that curve, or rather the linear sort of downward. We thought, oh, okay, 100 years ago you're exposed to like 60 parts per million of lead, and this is, or parts per deciliter, I'm sorry, of lead, and that's really a problem. That's like with Mad Hatters, the people who work with these chemicals, and mostly had all this lead in it, and they would behaviorally call them the Mad Hatters, but it's partly this exposure to lead. And so they thought, well then, maybe we should put the safe threshold down to 40, and then maybe how about, 25, and then it's gone down and down and down. And currently they really see that there's no level below which you can be exposed to lead for it to be safe. So in other words, any lead exposure is not good. And at the same time, kids don't get tested for lead because of the criteria that exists now, which until they have a blood lead exposure of above 5 micrograms per deciliter. So that's just where we are on the regulatory end of things. And then, of course, in the global markets, there's still lots of lead that comes in through jewelry. It's in our lipstick. These are things that we still have in our marketplace, even though we've supposedly banned lead. And of course, the vulnerable communities. And this is an environmental justice concern. These are the groups that are still in the housing that pre-1976, before lead paint was banned, and they're still living with that. Their kids are still eating the paint chips. So that continues to be an issue. Same story with mercury. It's gone down and down and down. On this graph, it's really 1,000-fold decrease in what we thought was safe. And again, we've had these regulations by different organizations, and it just keeps going down. And mercury in fish is a really tough situation, particularly in terms of how to talk to pregnant women about how much fish and what kind of fish to eat. And there are certain kinds of fish to avoid altogether, which I can talk about. Mostly they're like swordfish, tilefish, shark, there's a couple others. But even tuna is a major concern. So even canned tuna really is someone who's pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant. You want to just maybe 1 can a month we're talking about. So this. But at the same time, fish is great for you, right? It's really good for the omega-3s. I mean, salmon is great, and that's actually not a fish on that, category. So we want to also emphasize eating fish, but the messaging is really hard, as you might imagine. It's like, don't eat fish, but, you really should have fish. So this is a world we live in, and we're just having to wrestle with these very tough concerns. So the PCBs that I've talked about before, they can alter the thyroid hormone. And so there's all these hormones, messaging system in your body, right? And some of these chemicals mimic or block that messaging system. So the messages don't get through. And in the thyroid system, this hormone, the PCBs means the thyroid hormone, there's a decrease in that in the mom's body. and that means the infant's body has a decrease, but then it increases the thyroid stimulating hormone, which with an increase like that, it's associated with learning disabilities and other neurodevelopmental deficits. So, as it says here, it is associated, research has shown, with reduced IQ even at 7 to 9 years old. This is, it started during pregnancy, so they're even seeing that kind of deficit at 7 to 9 years old. So. PBDEs, flame retardants, there's some good news about this, believe it or not, but it like PCBs, it actually molecularly, it's almost identical to PCBs. It just, it's another slightly different, but not different enough to not cause the same harm. And it can damage the mitochondria in the cell, which is really the engine of the cell, the fuel engine. And it showed that the mitochondria in children with autism, it has less ability to produce the energy needed to fuel these cells when exposed to PCBs. So this is another this is an older study done by an anthropologist, but it's so dramatic that I like to use it when talking about pesticide exposure. So in this story, this is in Mexico. There was a Yaqui Indian population. This woman, Dr. Elizabeth Gillette, was studying. And in the 1950s, during the Green Revolution, they were given pesticides to use on their crops. And there was a philosophical divide within the community. And half said, we're not going to use pesticides. And they went up and lived in the foothills. And those, the other half, it's not exactly half, I don't know exactly, but in any case, the others lived in the valley and grew the crops with the pesticides. So she started to do studies with these kids, the kids who were exposed and kids who were not exposed. And it was, it's about as controlled a study as you can get with the human population because they weren't marrying outside of the tribe. There was a lot of other factors that it could be controlled for. And what they found was the kids who were exposed, they couldn't, they had these jogging things and they couldn't last as long. They got, out of breath more. They had memory impairment issues. And what was most dramatic is in this next slide. So the kids on your, your right are the kids who were exposed. They were the kids who lived in the valley. This is their drawings. Again, and then the kids who were not exposed, you can really see this, it's stunning. And this, of course, there's a lot of critique of this particular research. Partly it's done by an anthropologist, not a toxicologist or an epidemiologist. But even on a smaller, scale, this was just so concerning. So that's another example. Bisphenol A. You probably you see the free BPA free on these water bottles and things or cans. You've probably seen that label. Well, there was a big movement to get bisphenol A because of all these concerns. It's, again, ubiquitous. It's an endocrine disrupting chemical, meaning tiny amounts. It can disrupt the messaging system in the body. It also it may be associated with even obesity, and there's cardiovascular disease, insulin resistance, but then there's the neurotoxic concerns that we're really focusing on today. And this was one of those unfortunate situations where they finally got BPA out, and so the company said, well, great, we're going to use BPS. Well, they didn't do enough studies on BPS before they put that in the marketplace, and so a lot of the BPA-free things now have BPS in them, but they're now finding that they have the same problems in terms of health impacts. So humanity is not terrific at foresight, and this is also why our regulatory system needs to improve significantly if we're going to be more protective. So this air pollution studies actually this is in Columbia University, a woman named Frederica Pereira there, who runs the Children's Environmental Health Research Center. Worked in West Harlem, and they had the pregnant women wear air monitors for 24 hours, so that they could find out what they were exposed to exactly. And then they, did post-testing and so forth, and worked with the kids over time. And they found that the kids, their IQ was lower at kindergarten level, and they're continuing to work with these kids. And there was another study that came out just yesterday in the Journal of Science and the Total Environment, and it showed an increase in prevalence of autism spectrum disorder of those living next to industrial sites where the air pollution, in particular pollutants, were high. And this is an ecological study. Again, there's going to be some, I'm sure, critique of it, but there has been other studies that have suggested that air pollution, which impacts neurological development, is not a good thing either. So if you step away from, on the individual level, and we step back and kind of look at a societal level, how this may impact us. And, if one of us, there's a lower IQ point or two, you hope it doesn't dramatically change your life, right? But in this theoretical situation where you have a population of 100 million people, and you think, okay, well, these particular exposures reduce the IQ point average 5 points, just 5 points, right? So what happens? That whole piece, everything moves over 5 points. And where we have the intellectually impaired and the intellectually, quote unquote, gifted, we now have, what is it? I think it was, so that people with IQs below 70 requiring remedial assistance would increase 6 to 9.4 million. So this is just in a population of 100 million people. So what we're doing to ourselves on a societal level, and this isn't, I really want to step back and say, the individuals who, whatever IQ level, we love them, right, on the individual level, but this is just trying to understand what we're doing to, ourselves on a much, much broader level. And of course, it has economic consequences. They've done all these estimates now. And the ADHD, this is the annual estimated loss to the U.S. economy, $143 to $266 billion. And it has these kinds of losses, has real implications for productivity later in life. And some of the adults, it really is the productivity and income and why that's so high. The children, it's more healthcare and education, and then, the families, all the support services that are needed. Special education has increased, at least the last statistic I looked at, and maybe more now, has increased 200% in the last 25 years. So the need for special education. So then we look at world, again, you all know quite well. And same kind of, just stunning amounts of money has to be spent, and it's undermining, all of the quality of all of our lives. So I'll mention just one more. Phil Landrigan, whom I talked about earlier at Mount Sinai School of Medicine, did this piece looking at other health outcomes as well as particularly lead poisoning. And this was a very conservative estimate, and this is in 2002. But at these particular, looking at what the estimated, the environmentally attributable fraction of healthcare costs is the best way to put that, in billions of dollars, and the best estimate was, 54.9 billion for these particular concerns. And then another economist, Elise Gould, estimated that at current levels, the pesticide, lead, mercury exposures leads to an IQ losses of 120 billion annually, which is about 3% of the U.S. annual economy. And of course, once again, I want to remind people this affects, the vulnerable communities more than anyone. So, now to turn to a little bit lighter material, I want to talk a bit about a story of health, which is something we just published, we meaning the Collaborative on Health and the Environment, with the CDC and the UCSF Pediatric Environmental Health Specialty Unit. Why does it say new moo? Oh, yeah, I see. Okay. You all didn't get handouts, so disregard that, but I'm going to show you, if I can figure out how to get out of this one and into another, I'm going to show you a bit of this. So it's a multimedia ebook. So in the story of health, and you've saw some of these same kind of figures in my first slide, talking about the subcellular to the ecosystem levels. So this also, we're looking at this introduction of an ecological framework of health. So what this multimedia ebook, we've launched 3 different chapter areas. It's based on a family reunion scenario. And so each of the case studies, if you will, is about, it's a child at the family reunion who has a learning disability, or Aunt Betty who can't get pregnant and seems to have infertility issues, or later we'll have another on childhood leukemia and Parkinson's. So we're going to do a whole range. We just have 3 right now, and one is Amelias Story, which is about learning and developmental disabilities. And so there's an introduction really laying out the storyline, and I want to say you can get CE credits for taking this. It's housed on the CDC website, so you can go in and take this. But basically, here we are, at the family reunion. Here's Amelia. This is her. These are fictitious characters, but basically a conglomerate of what sort of a typical child you might find with certain characteristics. I'm jumping through this. But so, all these multiple contributors, I'm just, reinforcing what I've been talking about. All these things can contribute. We don't know exactly what, causes what, but many influences. And this multimedia ebook, there's all kinds of videos, and there's, at the very end, there's thousands of references if you really want to go deep. And it's really easy to access. And so, here she is, this video here, and it talks again about how it's, she's not meeting her developmental milestones and how's the family handle that. And then, working together with a lot of what you all do, I think, and what was talked about earlier today, and trying to figure out what's the best path. And, the diagnoses process, and then, of course, a lot of them are overlapping, figuring out that those next steps. So I wanted to just show you a couple of those. Moving forward, where's a little clicker thing? I wanted to, again, kind of step back a bit. And so when we think about this in society, we have to figure out, where do we intervene in this system? You all are thinking about interventions all the time on the individual level, the classroom level, the clinical level, all really important. But if you really back up and look in a society, what else do we need to be thinking about? And the fact is that the most effective is actually the most difficult, right? And you all are doing, you're on the front line doing, really trying to change mindsets and consciousness and, neural wiring, and that is the hardest. But we need to also do these other things. And Danella Meadows, who was a professor of mine in environmental sciences in college, wrote Limits to Growth, and she also put this together. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but it's helpful to think, okay, so do we work on get people to realize the full cost accounting, the gas is only $4 at your pump or whatever, which is, is pretty high from what it used to be, but that's ridiculously low compared to what it costs. Or, the bread on your table. If you really put in all the costs of everything that went into making that loaf, it would be like $25 if you're thinking about the fuel that it went into, the cost of the labor, who shredded, the wheat, the farmers who took that out. That loaf should be a lot more expensive. So we're thinking about full cost accounting, and then the human health costs within that is a big one. Regulating negative feedback loops. I'll talk more about chemical policy reform that is we're moving ahead on slowly. And then there's a whole new realm of chemistry and chemistry departments in major universities now in green chemistry. And so the paradigm is really shifting from, let's just see what chemical we can put together and make to do X, without stepping back and going and basing it on principles. They have 12 principles to say, look at the whole lifespan of this chemical. What might it do if it has these particular molecules in it in this combination? What are the potential health of impacts? And just to really go through it from the start, before you start even putting it together, try to, as best as we can, figure out the unintended consequences that we live with right now. So I can go on through, there's the effective communications and legal structures. We need to change campaign finance reform if you want to go really big, and then going to the individual level, and that's again a shifting consciousness, which is of course the hardest thing for any of us to do in our own lives. So in 1998, a group of people came together for the first time, to basically create a statement around what's called the Precautionary Principle. And in Germany, this principle had been around for a long time when environmental law was first established there. And it's basically, in this context, first do no harm, right? But we've kind of forgotten that, because we want to read the science. All of us do. I do too. I want to say, okay, so should I not, take this vitamin, and I should take this? I mean, we want the science. We want, the cause-effect relationship. We want it clear. But the fact of the matter is, science is based on uncertainty. It just is. It's the nature of science. There are hypotheses. We work with those, we try to prove them, they fall apart, and then we keep refining. We find new things every day, right? So we have to understand that we really do need to look before we leap, right? And right now, we need to really look for alternatives, and really look not just at, from the BPA to the BPS, but really look at safer alternatives, cleaner technologies. We need to put the burden of proof on the proponents, which means having corporations actually have to do a lot more studies, and actually having independent scientists do those studies as well, which is getting harder and harder to do, so that we don't have to wait for, it sounds awful, but for the body bags, for people to die before we actually start doing something. And then again, setting these goals, to work, things we can work for, and on a big scale, making our democracy more transparent. There are all these corporate secrets right now, and we don't know what, we're trying to push labeling laws. I mean, California is way ahead of most other states in the US with Prop 65, but that even doesn't get a lot of the information that people need to be able to make wise choices. So that was what, they put together that statement, and it still just really sounds a cornerstone for this work. And then there's the science to policy piece, which is what I do a lot of, trying to translate the science into public health policy. And then many of my colleagues then take it to communities, and I want to bring up encouraging funding for more environmental health related research. And fortunately, Melissa Rose here could tell you a lot more about the CHARGE study at the Mind Institute, but it's looking at these exposures of mercury, pesticides, and air pollution related to neurodevelopmental deficits, and it's a longitudinal study, and it's really exciting, coming out with some very important results. There's Mount Sinai's School Autism and Learning Disabilities Discovery and Prevention project that was launched in 2010. Has somewhat similar goals, really bringing these scientific discoveries into evidence-based strategies for reducing and preventing exposures that can lead to autism and other neurodevelopmental issues. So that's happening, and it's also getting the word out. There's a great article, I don't think I have a copy of it, but The Atlantic, it's just a wonderful synopsis of a lot of the information I just gave you, called The Toxins That Threaten Our Brains. And David Bellinger at Harvard was prominent in that, as was Phil Landrigan, whom I've also mentioned, and Philippe Grandjean, and really talking about these issues. And it's a really well done article, so I just mentioned that. So the good news, yes, there is some good news. There are some amazing organizations around the country and certainly internationally who are really trying to change the system at the policy level, regulatory level. In 1976, an act called the Toxic Substances Control Act was passed, and it basically grandfathered in 60,000 chemicals that hadn't been tested. So we started, let's just put the 60,000, because we don't really know about them, but whatever, we'll just put them in, right? And so, and this law has not been changed since 1976, and it has only banned 5 chemicals during that time, 5. And asbestos, it had so many loopholes that asbestos could not be banned by this particular law. So this is my colleagues who really do the kind of policy work, in your face stuff, have been trying to get this new bill passed for probably 10 years now. It's, got out of the Senate once and then it's back in, and then our champion, Frank Lautenberg, he died, a year or two ago in the Senate, and then, anyway, it's been very political, let's say. And of course, corporations and, other polluters are saying, it's all fine, right? We don't really need to do anything. So we're not making a lot of movement right now on the national level, but fortunately, our European friends have been managed to put in a new policy called REACH, which basically demands that corporations, there's not this kind of behind closed doors, they have to know the ingredients. There's a whole set of processes they have to go through, and this is mandated by the, the Environmental Union and the Commission there. It's of course getting resistance, but it was passed, which is amazing, and now there's been appeals and all of that, but they're really much farther ahead than we are, and we hope we can learn something from them sometime. And then on the state level, the safer states, and they have managed to pass about 150 bills on the state level because they weren't getting anything on the national level, so they've gone to the states, and they've gotten a lot of pushback as well. But it's been, they're working it. They're really working it. And I don't know if you all heard, in terms of the flame retardants, the Chicago Tribune did this incredible investigative study on one of a physician who was hired, it turns out, by the flame retardants, the people who make the manufacturers, to go to different state legislators and tell this fictitious story, as it turned out. But it was a horrific story, and what can you say? He talked about this baby, and she would have burned alive had she not, had these flame retardants, pajamas and whatever else, and so everyone's in tears by the end of it, and of course the legislators are like, God, I can't vote against that. Well, it turns out this guy was completely paid by industry. He made it all up, and it was incredible. But the Chicago Tribune did a 4-part investigative series, and it was totally blown wide open, and it's why Ashley Furniture, one of the biggest manufacturer of furniture, has now taken flame retardants out of furniture. So, and Home Depot is now taking phthalates, which are plasticizers, and flame retardants out of materials there. So I have amazing colleagues who are really taking this into the market campaigns. Actually, I'll talk a little bit more about the market campaigns in a minute. Okay, but so that's happening. So we're really trying to raise the profile of these issues because we look at a lot at social determinants of health, which of course is completely important, and we need to focus even more in that area. But what keeps getting dropped by whether it's the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, who is working on the culture of health, but they look at upstream drivers of health and won't look at pollutants. And so we're really trying to say, if we don't look at this, we're really missing a big part of our public health concerns. So in order to raise awareness, we did what's called the Mind Disrupted BioMonitoring project. I have some information up here. This was a few years ago, and this is part of the Collaborative on Health and the Environment, which I direct, and it was one of the working groups called the Learning and Developmental Disabilities Initiative, and we work very closely with the Learning Disabilities Association and AAIDD and the Autism Society and others. And we did this biomonitoring test not as a, this is not a scientific study, it was only 12 people, but they were all people who had some affiliation with the learning and developmental disabilities community, and they were tested for 14 chemicals, and all of them had all these chemicals in their bodies. These are chemicals like the PCBs, like the PBdes, the flame retardants, like organic pesticides, organic chlorine pesticides, and so we did a media release, we did a congressional briefing, and what we weren't saying, of course, that these chemicals caused any. We can't say like this child was exposed to pesticides at age 2.5 and therefore has whatever a learning disability, but we can say that this isn't okay. This is not okay with any of us to have these chemicals in our body when we know they're neurotoxic, when they know that they can have these health outcomes. And so this is just one way to get it out to the media, get it out to the press, get it out to our congressional leaders. And another way, as I was just beginning to talk about, is through these retail campaigns. So phthalates are the plasticizers that are probably in this carpet, they're in any vinyl flooring, any kind of vinyl stuff. But now Home Depot, Lowe's, Maynard's just last week signed on to remove phthalates from the flooring. I mentioned Ashley Furniture, which is amazing. Not so pretty. There's been a campaign on getting toxics out of personal care products. And I mean, we're talking everything from perfume to lotions to, lipstick to all these things. And they've been going to these companies, L'Oreal and these big companies, and saying, what's in those, non-active ingredients, the fragrance, that's, nobody knows what it is, they can be quite concerning. So they've actually managed to get these big companies to take some of these chemicals out and are continuing to push the market. There are also some major new tools for corporations that they can use. Green Screen, run by an amazing man, Mark Rossi, gives corporations a way to think about how could I reduce my chemical footprint. And then there's the Chemical Footprint Project, which is all part of that. And so instead of making them the bad guys, we're saying we got to work together on this, right? We can't just go around trying to ban every chemical. There's 80,000 of them. It's not going to happen. So we really need to look upstream. And one example I want to give you is Baxter that produces IV bags in hospitals. Well, the IV bags are, of course, made of plasticizers, the DEHP and the PVC in it. And these colleagues went and said, that leaches when you're in the hospital and you're getting an IV bag, and you're actually leaching these endocrine disrupting chemicals. And so this Baxter said, well, great, we're going to figure out how to make IV bags without this stuff in them. And they did. And so they're on the cutting edge of the market, and they get, they're the Xerox of copying machines, whatever. They get the market share, and this is what we're trying to get through to this is a win-win situation. This is not, oh my gosh, we're going to, it's like with the lead paint. Everyone thought the economy was just going to collapse, and even the EPA was saying, we just can't do this. And we got lead paint out, and what? The economy didn't collapse, and blood levels went down. This is great. So when there's the political will, we can do this, right? So, and I'll stop. I'll just close up here. Thank you all. You've been incredibly wonderful listeners. Hope you haven't fallen asleep. But and I'm not saying that we need to think individually as well, because it can be overwhelming. It's hard to go talk to your policymakers. It's hard to find time to do anything. You're shopping. You're just trying to make good choices for you and your family. And I mentioned here eating organic fruits and vegetables. I know that's not possible for everyone. It's really, really hard, but it is the one, largest way you can reduce the pesticides that you carry in your body. There's been many studies, of kids who are on organic diets and kids who are on non-organic diets, and the pesticide levels go way down when you're not eating them every day. So it's hard, I do talk to people about, there are things like beans and rice you can buy organic, like lots of garbanzo beans or whatever, and rice, and just make big pots of these things with veggies. It doesn't have to be expensive. You don't need the, the $10, I don't know, piece of cheese or whatever that's organic. So there are ways to do this. So avoiding like bug sprays, and foggers that have a lot of these chemicals in them. Glyphosate that's used on people's lawns, another major concern that is now in the news. Try to use glass and ceramic and stainless steel instead of plastic. Do not microwave in plastic. Do not microwave. I mean, that is like one, do never microwave in plastic. That's one thing you do differently after you leave here. That's great. Again, the vacuum cleaner, trying to keep as much dust because a lot of these chemicals are in the dust. And just washing with soap and water. You don't need the antibacterial soaps. You do not need them. Triclosan and all those antibacterial soaps is another neurotoxicant. They're now taking it out. Soap and water works. They're getting hospitals to change, and stop using these antibacterial soaps. It doesn't do any good. And I can show you studies. It's just amazing what we have done for when we think it's progress, and unfortunately we're doing ourselves a lot of harm. So those are the things you can do. There's other websites that I put up here, but I'll just end this is a quote from Dick Jackson, who's the dean of the School of Public Health at UCLA, and he was at the Centers for Disease Control. What is good for our children is good for our homes, good for our communities, and good for our planet. And that's really sums it up.
The UC Davis Mind Institute was created in 1998 with a promise to find cures for neurodevelopmental disorders. Every day, our physicians and researchers come closer to fulfilling that promise. Their groundbreaking research on autism, Fragile X syndrome, chromosome 22q11.2 deletion syndrome, ADHD, and other brain disorders are helping children achieve their fullest potential. Please visit our website to find out more about current studies, upcoming events, and how you can help make a difference.